Let's talk about friendship today because friendship is super important, just as important as our romantic relationships, in my opinion. And I have, been a bad friend. I've really screwed some friendships up, but I learned from those experiences, and I want to share some of those lessons with you today. I'm Stacy Rocklein, and I help people write new love stories about themselves so that they can let down their guard and live a life with loving, connected relationships. So let me tell you, this is Stacy's classic relationship fail. First of all, when I meet somebody that I click with, I am all in. I love that. I want to spend time with you. I want to tell you my stories. I want to hear your stories. I'm going to share with you. Sometimes we even share things in our friendships that we wouldn't share in our intimate relationships, in our romantic relationships. So everything is awesome. And then something would happen. Either my feelings would be hurt, or I would have something that I would really feel like I needed to say, or I would feel like the other person has been hurt by me. That experience of trying to communicate that would be, the concept of that was so painful that I would avoid. Having to hear that I've hurt your feelings, and to have to deal with how bad that was gonna make me feel is like, no, I don't want that. Or having to actually say my feelings are hurt, or I need to talk about this thing, and wonder how you're gonna react and what that might do. Totally avoid it, right? So then I avoid that. And then, distance occurs, especially if I'm, in a relationship with somebody else who's maybe an avoider too. And then over time, the friendship sort of fades away, and then it goes away. And then I'm left with two things. I'm left with, number one, that terrible feeling of knowing that I'm responsible for how it went down because I was too much of a coward to just have a tough conversation. And then two, the grief. The very painful feeling of having lost a friend. And we don't talk about how hard that is. So these are some of the things I've learned from messing it up. One is that all of the things that we know work in our regular relationships, they can be applied to our friendships. I would never just allow that to happen in my marriage. I can't have a conversation and so we just grow apart and it goes away. No way, I know how to do that in my relationship. I know how to do all kinds of things really well in my relationship, my marriage. Why didn't I apply those to my friendship, right? That doesn't make any sense. But all of those same skills can be applied the same way. Friendships are tricky though, right? Because when something goes wrong in a friendship, it's not like you go get friendship counseling. You don't seek out help maybe the same way that you do when your romantic relationship is in trouble. There are books on couples and marriage and being better spouses, and there aren't that many resources, as many on how to be a really good friend. So all we really have is what we know about relationships and using that and applying it into our friendships. And I really wish that I had done that. I've lost some people that I loved incredibly because of my own failings. The other thing that I learned is that we need to give some, legitimacy to how hard it is when a friendship ends. First of all, friendships are kind of vague, When someone's in a relationship, there's boyfriend, girlfriend, then there's engagement, then there's marriage, but you never with your friend go let's go have a friendship commitment out in front of all of our loved ones. It's sort of vague. You're not really, you think you have a pretty good idea of the level of loyalty and commitment, but it's not really clear. And then when something ends, if someone says, we're getting a divorce or I'm getting a divorce, we know that's painful and that's a hard experience, and the world allows you to grieve that and comes to your aid when that is happening. But when your friendship ends and you just say like, oh, we're not friends anymore, it's not acknowledged, how much loss and grief and pain can go with that experience. And that's another thing that I learned. I just offer this to you today because if you're in a friendship that means a lot to you and you're in a challenging time, if you know how to have a good, healthy relationship, take that and apply it to your friendship. How to have tough conversations, how to be vulnerable, all of those things, they apply to friendships too. And the other thing is if you've suffered a loss, a friendship loss, I want to tell you that I understand that's incredibly painful. And maybe the world isn't out telling you that it's okay that you hurt this much, but allow your feelings. You don't need to judge yourself and say like, geez, I shouldn't be this upset. It's just a friendship. Just a friendship. A friendship is incredibly important. And there's a lot of love and connection and intimacy in a friendship. So if you're feeling that loss and you're judging yourself for your feelings, I'm going to give you permission to just allow yourself. And I want you to give yourself permission to acknowledge that is grieving, that is loss, and you're allowed. We want to be better at friendships because it's still love. It's still love and connection and belonging, and they're important, and they're an important part of our lives. So let's get better at them and acknowledge their significance. That's all for you today. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.